And I began to believe that I had absolutely no value. And I grew up that way up until all the time I went into the movies, the time I got the Oscar. All of that was tainted by this feeling of unworthiness much of my life. When you think of it, I'm really a very damaged person. I'm just a damaged person who says, well, screw that. I'm not going to let that do me in. But I'm strong. I have a very, very strong will. But that doesn't mean that you can't hurt me. I'm still very hurtable. And it always has to do with that, who I am, what I am. And I learned to do something through therapy that's been immensely helpful for me. I invented a little girl named Rosita. And Rosita is a little girl, she's about 5, who doesn't like me. And sometimes she sits on my shoulder, and when something bad happens, she says, I told ya. And what I've been able to do with Rosita, and it isn't always successful, but it works much of the time, is I say to Rosita, go to your room, you little bitch.
I'm going to take that.
Take it,
We're all going
use
to take
it, because there's a part of you. Is that somebody's phone? Do I hear a phone?
I don't know.
No,
I don't
okay.
hear a phone.
There's a part of you that, when you're not a well person, in the sense of how you feel about yourself, there's always a part of you that's there saying that. And that part of you is always happy to say, told you. I told you you couldn't get that part. I told you you weren't pretty. I told you your hair was funny looking when it's so fuzzy like that. And that's the thing that you have to learn to control. Much easier to say than to do and to accomplish. Much easier. But I gotta tell you, it really works. Don't even try it at home. You gotta have more experience than that. You can't just invent a Carlito and say, Carlito, go to your room. Probably Carlito will say, go fuck yourself.
Do you hear that voice also when you are performing? Because of course you must be so present.
When this happens, which is, thank God, not often, this happens when I'm feeling very, very, very insecure about myself. And I know that, looking like this and dressing like this and having pretty hair and nice makeup and all that makes you think that I'm in charge. I'm really not. And it's a struggle much of my life to live up to this person that you see. And you say, wow, she's got it together. Not always. And understand that I don't feel that you ever really heal when you've had that kind of trauma as a child. So I still feel like I'm an injured person. But I've learned how to deal with that kind of self-destructive feeling about myself. But it's there. It's definitely there. So don't be discouraged if it doesn't work all the time. It won't. Because if you've really been hurt, if you've really been traumatized, that stays with you. I'm about to be 93, and it's still there. Unbelievable, right? There are certain things that happen to me that hurt me so badly that I still can barely talk about them without tears. Amazing.
It is, because look how much you've
Because I
accomplished.
look so tough, right?
Well, because look how much you've accomplished. Reading your bio, watching your films.
Yeah.
Tell us about the night you won the Oscar.
Oh, God, what a night. Oh, wow. Do we know?
You should call.
Oh, they don't know? Oh, do you know who's here?
George
Chakiris.
Woo! He's over here.
George,
Stand up.
if you stand up, please stand up.
Woo!
Thank you. Where is he?
Woo!
I was right there. You have white hair. Yeah, 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 yeah. See, that's Rosita. Rosita, go to your room. Get out of here. Anyway, wait a minute. Where were we?
Tell us about the night of the Oscar.
Oh, the Oscar. Okay. So George picked me up. I mean, it was absolutely for sure that we were going to be each other's date because number one, we were extremely good friends. We laughed a lot. I mean, George made me pee more often than you could ever. He's very funny. He's this gorgeous man who's extremely funny. And on the way to the theater, the El Capitan it was at the time, we were both nominated. The movie was nominated in every single category. I mean, it was quite a night. And we made up sour grape speeches. I was absolutely certain I was not going to win because, number one, I had flown in from the Philippines where I was making a crappy movie. But I had to because it paid me. So I came in from the Philippines and sleepy. The time difference was huge. George was my date. And in the car, we made up sour grape speeches. You know what sour grape speeches are? Well, you know, she slept with the director. I mean, you know, that's a sour grape speech. And it's usually almost never true. But we made up a whole bunch of those and laughed at each other and had a great time. And then came the time for the Oscars to begin in this huge theater with all of these hugely famous people. Oh my God, wait, my glasses. Don't let me forget them, okay? I could count on forgetting them.
I'll help you.
Okay. So we get to the theater and we sit in our seats and the movie starts to win every award you can think of. The best camera work, the best lighting, the best choreography, the best everything. I mean, it literally swept the awards. And the very last one to be announced was, and here are the people who were up for the Best Supporting Actress. George was just before me, and then I came. And I was absolutely certain that I didn't stand a chance because, number one, I had flown in all the way from Manila, the Philippines, and I thought I wouldn't have that kind of luck. And Judy Garland was up for an award, and it was a very special one in her case. It was one for Best Dramatic Featured Actress. Dramatic, not a musical. You know, she was a big musical singing star. And I thought, she has to win. And she was also in the hospital at the time, and they had a TV camera in her room just in case, and I thought, I don't stand a chance. But I wanted to be there from the Philippines just in case. And Rock Hudson calls out the names, and he says, these people are up for this particular award, Best Featured Actress, and he says, Rita Moreno. I damn near wet my knickers. My mom was sitting in back of me because I had invited her, and she hugged me. And if you go to YouTube, you'll see that. You'll see this woman hugging me from the back, and that's my mommy. And I got up, and I remember saying to myself, I was just, needless to say, I was beyond ecstatic. And I'm walking down the aisle, and it's a long aisle. And I remember saying to myself, don't run. It's not dignified. You make them wait. Because usually what happens is that when a name is called, let's say someone calls right now, Rita Moreno, Best Featured Actress, I get up and I start walking down the aisle. And very often, this is what other actresses used to do, they'd run because they were afraid that the applause would stop before they got to the stage. It's a thing called timing, you know? And I remember saying to myself, do not run, even if the applause stops. Do not, well, it didn't stop because this was the favorite movie of many a year. It didn't stop, it went on and on. Anyway, I get to the stage, Rock Hudson hands me the Oscar, and I say the following. You should have shown this, because it's...
I know, I'm wishing we had the...
Yeah.
Okay, next.
You won't believe it. You can see it on YouTube, though. I hold the Oscar and stare at it, not knowing what I'm going to say. You know, more often than not, actors, you know, in self-defense, try to think of something they can say that's either fun or amusing or touching or whatever, but something, they prepare something in case. So you're not, you know, caught standing up there just, you know, with shit-faced. But I was, with a vengeance. And I said the following things. Oh my Lord. Big pause. And I'm thinking, oh my God, they're waiting to hear something magical. And I say, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I leave you with that. There's more. This is the best part of the story. The hostess of the show that night was Joan Crawford, a very big star of the time, and Rock Hudson, a very big star of the time also, a lady and a man. Now, Joan Crawford at that time was married to, I call him Mr. Pepsi-Cola because I never remember his name, but he owned the Pepsi-Cola company. So she, in her dressing room, which was really in the wings, like right there, yeah, stage right, as a matter of fact, she's standing there after I finish, and as I finish, I start to cry, and I go into the wings, and she sees a photographer waiting for me to come off, and she grabs me. Why? Because she sees a photographer.
Love it.
And I just won an Oscar. So she grabs me like this with my back to the cameraman, and she says, there. And she sees tears in my eyes. And the photographer says to her, Miss Crawford, would you let Miss Moreno go so that I can take a picture? You know, she just won the Oscar. And she says, oh, I can't. She says, she is so upset. And she's got me like this. She's built like a linebacker. And I'm a little woman. And she says, she's so upset. And on her chest, I'm saying, I'm not upset. I'm not upset. I'm not upset. And she wouldn't let me go. She wanted that picture with me. And the cameraman finally, literally pulled me, wrested me out of her arms. And he says, they're waiting in the green room. The press is waiting to take pictures of her. And she finally had to let me go. But that's what I forgot to mention is that she had had a lot of Pepsi-Colas that night with vodka. So I'm saying she was drunk as a skunk.
You gotta watch the Pepsi-Colas with the vodka. That's dangerous.
Yes.
That's dangerous.
Is that a great story?
I love it. I want to keep it going with your storytelling. Backstage, you were mentioning that there's a story about Shirley MacLaine.
I was just reminded of that today because I'm staying in a hotel where I've been before. And one time I was in the lobby about to go up to my room, and there's Shirley, and I know Shirley for a long time, and she was a huge star then. And she had also been talking a lot about the other life and ghosts and spirits and all kinds of stuff. And people were beginning to think she was a little nuts. But she insisted that she had seen all kinds of apparitions and things. So anyway, as I'm walking to the elevator, I hear, Rita, hi. And it's Shirley MacLaine saying, you know, I don't know if you youngsters know who she is.
Of course.
Big time. Big time as especially that big time star. Rita, hi, it's Shirley, me, Shirley. I said, oh my goodness, Shirley, how are you? And we gabbed for a little bit. And then I say, well, you know, I have to go back to my room because I have to make some phone calls. And she said, hey, how's Marlon? He was my boyfriend for about 8 years. And she says, hey, how's Marlon? And I said, Shirley, Marlon's been dead for ages. She says, oh, well, I'll say hello to him for you.
I love it. I love it.
I'll say hello to him for you. It's pretty funny.
Tell us a little bit more about your relationship with
What?
Marlon. Tell us about your relationship with Marlon.
Oh, God, that was tempestuous and very sexy.
Enough said.
That's kind.
It was an amazing relationship. He was really, at the time, one of the world's sexiest men. He was really sexy. And we found each other on the set of a movie he was making at 20th Century Fox. I was then about 23, something like that. And I was pretty sexy myself. I mean, I was cute. And he loved Latin women. Anyway, so he met me on his set because I was taken to his set to take a publicity picture with him. I mean, he was huge, huge. He was like the king of dramatic actors. He was it. You know, people were swooning over all kinds of stuff. And we met each other and boom. I mean, we really hit it off. And he called me up, like he found my number and called me up that evening. And he said he would like to see me and take me out to dinner and blah, 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 and stuff like that. And God, he was sexy. So we had a very long relationship, 8 years, on and off, on and off. He was always cheating. I was always getting upset. You know, I mean, it was the perfect bad relationship. Perfect. We were absolutely right for each other then, but we really made each other suffer something awful. So one time I found a lady's undergarment in his house. And I went home heartbroken, weeping, angry, all kinds of things. I was just absolutely destroyed. I mean, how could I not have guessed? This was the king of the movies, for Pete's sake. Anyway, I was really just destroyed and angry and hurt and all that stuff. The very next day, my phone rings and I have the following conversation with this gentleman. I say, hello? And he says, Miss Moreno? And I said, yes? He said, this is Colonel Parker speaking. That was the man who handled Elvis Presley. And I said, yes? He said, well, my client is Elvis Presley. And he says, he spotted you in the commissary of 20th Century Fox this week. And he liked what he saw. And he said he would like very much. I'm bad at these accents, forgive me.
I think you're great. Keep going.
He said he would like very much to meet you. Would you like to meet him? And I think of the underwear in Marlon's house. And I say, yes, I would. So I went out with Elvis Presley. Of course, I wasn't seeing Marlon because I was hurt and destroyed and all that kind of stuff. And even though there was no social system like we have now, it got around like instantly that Elvis had taken me out to a nightclub and that we caused a riot and all that kind of stuff. It was all over the papers. Marlon saw this and was furious. And he called me up and he says, I want to talk to you. And I said, okay. I went to his house, and the moment I entered his house, he starts throwing chairs and yelling and picking up furniture and throwing it all over the place. It was wonderful. That's the end of my story.